All right, so the Auburn Tigers enter a very pivotal week with the Freeze campaign. A huge game against newcomer to the SEC, Oklahoma. Auburn is no stranger to their encounter. You know what? Before we get into that, because I was about to get into a whole nother entity of what we're going to talk about tonight. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Down deep south, college football is king. And on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. I think just arguably, when you talk about where Auburn is with their program, I'm not an enthusiast. I'm a realist. I think Auburn has had some serious opportunities to come into this game as an undefeated team. You talk about a team that has averaged like crazy turnover numbers. They have shown signs of being able to move the football against teams in the Power Five. I mean, honestly, I don't know which loss was worse, the California loss or the Arkansas loss. I think both situations were of such. So I think Auburn was better than both teams. And Hugh Freeze went on, I think WJOX was what caught this whole thing, to where Hugh Freeze talked about how, you know what, man, if we played Arkansas 9 or 10 times, we probably beat them 9 out of 10. I'm compelled to believe that although I have not been, in total agreement with the Hugh Freeze campaign, I think he's right. I think he was a better team than Arkansas. There was no point in that game that I felt like Arkansas was the better team. I thought Auburn was competing against themselves, beating themselves. I mean, you have a situation where you have a Damari Austin that maybe he doesn't score, but that was an arm tackle that forced that fumble. Damari Austin probably walks in or maybe gets tackled around the 2 or 3 yard line, and Auburn scores, and you're talking about a 7-7 game. You're talking about a situation where Auburn has these catastrophic turnovers, but Auburn gets an interception to put themselves in position to right the wrongs that they had. So, with all of that in mind, you bring in you bring in Jordan-Hare Stadium, what a lot of people don't want to account for. This is college football royalty with Oklahoma. Oklahoma has 7 national championships from the prior conference. They are onboarding as an SEC team. This will be obviously Oklahoma's first game on the road in the SEC conference, and I think they might have chose a bad time to do it, because you have an Auburn team that has a lot to prove, Auburn team that has, talent in a lot of areas. I think Auburn is a little, shallow in the secondary, but that front 7 for the Tigers, I think they're probably one of the better. I mean, they're very competitive as being a force to make some things happen in the SEC. But here we are, 2024, where the stakes could not be higher for either team. But I think the pressure is really on for Hugh Freeze to really get a win here against the number 21 team in the country. And it kind of takes me back to a couple of years when Auburn took on Texas A&M at home. I think that was 2015, where Auburn actually won that game against Texas A&M 26-10, and kind of sort of righted the wrongs of that season. And I think Auburn could be on that pace for this year. Now, you look at Auburn. I think Auburn is a decently talented football team, squandering losses against Cal and Arkansas. I think when we look back, let's say that Auburn does some good things down the stretch. Now, I don't think that a Georgia win is, you know, realistic, but you got some other wins that, roster wise, you might have some success. You got Missouri, you got Kentucky, you got some chances, but you gotta beat Oklahoma. You just have to. I don't think Auburn has the opportunity to fathom the thought of losing to Oklahoma at home, starting a true freshman quarterback, which I think is very talented. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But my goodness, man, it's checkpoint time for Auburn now. And I love this because this is one of the reasons why I love Auburn football. I love the adversity. I love the competition. I love you know, Auburn is not one of those teams that just dominates their opponent. Which, you probably say, well, why would you love a team like that? Well, I love a team that shows up and are competitive, which during my tenure at Auburn, between the 1999s and 20 somethings, Auburn always showed up competition wise against these teams. This was during a tenure where Auburn beat Alabama, I think like 5 or 6 games straight, and developed a crazy rivalry against LSU, which at the moment doesn't exist. But Auburn is a place of heart. Auburn is a place of, I believe in hard work. I believe Auburn is a place that you don't love Auburn, necessarily because they are the winningest team. You love Auburn because of the essence of who they are, a spirit that's not afraid. And I think that that's something that has to come out in this particular football game against Oklahoma. And, you got to, I think a lot of folks are seeing me on this because Auburn is not if I look at the point spread, yeah, Oklahoma's a favorite by 2.5 points. And I think that thing went down because of what Oklahoma is having to do with playing a true freshman quarterback on the road. A 2.5 favorite and less than 50-point over under. Again, this week, guys, I like to bet, but I'm not touching this game because there's so many elements of this game that could potentially put you as the loser. So, I think Oklahoma comes into Auburn obviously as one of the best college football teams ever. I mean, their win to loss ratio over time is absolutely phenomenal. Seven national championships, 50. It's crazy. 50 conference championships over time. I think this is a great deal for the Tigers. As a matter of fact, I think SEC now is actually going to be on the scene for this particular football game to see what this game has to offer. Now, Oklahoma, just like Auburn, has some quarterback problems of their own. They're actually, Brent Venables is actually about to roll the dice and say, look, we're going to roll with a true freshman that's a dual threat quarterback against Auburn, and we're going to figure out how we can win this particular football game. I think, at home, I think Oklahoma has some struggles with Jackson Darnold, and it just didn't work out. And he's going to roll with that. But here's what we got to look at. What ifs of this game? 2 straight week sample size of a dual threat quarterback for Auburn. I think that gives them the advantage. They've actually found a way to, even in the midst of like multiple turnovers, they had a chance to win. They had a chance to win the football game. Only losing that game by 10, on losing to Cal by 7. And, you know, Oklahoma brings Michael Hawkins Jr., who doesn't have a huge sample size, probably is going to be facing an Auburn defense that has become accustomed to the dual threat quarterback concept. I'm not sure how this will bode well. And plus, I mean, I understand that Auburn has had the turnovers with the interceptions, but the more telling turnovers are with the running backs. I think Auburn's got to run the football. I think you gotta go run first. You got to put Oklahoma in some very adverse positions to have some opportunity to win this football game. I'm doing my prediction show tomorrow, and there's some things that I like for the Tigers, and I'll talk about it tomorrow. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. This is my preview of Auburn versus Oklahoma. These two teams have met twice. Oklahoma winning both times, one in 1972, which I don't think we can count, but also winning again in a bowl game in 2017, 35-19, which was more recent. And I thoroughly enjoyed that game. I thought Auburn had the opportunity to win, but there were some things that happened there that, just didn't work out. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. We're 5 years into this thing. I've thoroughly enjoyed and continue to enjoy what I do here. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War.